We are just learning late tonight that former President Donald Trump is expected to surrender to police in Georgia no earlier than Thursday of next week, according to multiple sources familiar with the planning. So that answers one big question coming up on Mr. Trump's legal timeline. But there is another question on his political timeline. Is he going to show up for the first Republican primary debate on Wednesday? Doesn't look like it. Sources familiar with his thinking tell our team he's trying instead to arrange a sit-down with Tucker Carlson to air on the same night. That could get tricky, since a source close to Carlson says he's in Europe with no set-in-stone plans to interview the former president at this point. Even if Mr. Trump is not on that stage, he's still going to be a target for his Republican rivals, as former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is making clear in his reaction to the news.
Trump won't go to the debate.
Will not go to the debate? No. His loss.
Shaq Brewster is joining us now from Miami, traveling with the former governor. So listen, we've been talking a lot about the political timeline here for the GOP primary. First debate is 6 days from now, not even. It's on Wednesday. It is possible that the day after that, Shaq, we could see Donald Trump as early as Thursday then, based on our reporting, go in and surrender in his fourth indictment now, the fourth time he is facing charges since he left the White House. Walk us through how this might affect the strategy for his rivals and the significance of this moment.
Yeah, look, the thing about presidential debates, especially this early in the cycle, is that this is the biggest audience that these candidates will get to have and be able to introduce themselves, to get their message out to people. And it seems as if Donald Trump is doing what he can to get in the way of that, to at least make the effect of the debate, all the conversation afterwards, to at least block that and for lack of a better word, trump that. One thing that we noticed is that with Chris Christie, he has been talking about the debate since the beginning of his campaign. He's been teasing this moment. You saw him there when a reporter mentioned that Trump will not be there. You saw him say, well, his loss. Well, I'll tell you, when you heard him talking to voters, it was very clear he wants Donald Trump on that stage. And I asked him about that a little bit as he was here in Miami campaigning. Do you prefer that Donald Trump's on that debate stage on Wednesday?
I prefer that everybody who wants to be president of the United States and win the Republican nomination be on the stage, because I think Republican voters deserve the respect to show up and to argue the issues with the other candidates who have qualified.
We know, and the reality is, despite Donald Trump not being there, he will likely still dominate a lot of attention on that stage. He's dominating headlines. He's far ahead in the polls. You have candidates ready to attack him. So there will be some adjustment of strategy, but there will still be a lot of attention on the former president, Hallie.
He won't be on that debate stage, right? He is the far and away front runner, and I should say, based on what we know now, he won't be on that debate stage unless something bananas happens in the next 7 days or so. There are other people who may not, there are other people who may not be on that debate stage, not because they don't want to be there, but because they're not going to qualify for it. I'm thinking of, for example, Francis Suarez, right, who went ahead and said, oh, I think, I'm going to make the stage. He's, of course, well known to folks there in Miami for obvious reasons. Not so clear from the RNC that that's actually the case. Sources there say to NBC, well, he hasn't met the criteria. I say all this to say there are some people who are considered more long shot candidates who would love to have that national exposure that you're talking about, who may not get it.
Who would love to have it, who may not get it, but who definitely need it. I mean, look at the candidates that you're talking about. You're not just talking about Francis Suarez, who's the Miami mayor. You're talking about candidates like Will Hurd, Asa Hutchinson. You look at that graphic that I believe we have, you see most of them haven't even qualified for most of the polls that are up there. They haven't registered at this point. So they need this attention, and it seems like they're not going to get it if they don't qualify for that debate stage. We do know that in conversations that our embeds have had with some of these candidates, they've said that they'll rethink what they want to do if they stay in this race, if they don't make that debate stage.
Shaq Brewster live for us in Miami. Shaq, thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.